I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that Game 7 victory against St. Louis. What just an incredible moment. As a hockey fan, as a Jets fan, just incredible. I will never get off this high, but we still have to because we have a second round matchup coming up. The Winnipeg Jets are going to be playing the Dallas Stars in the second round starting on Wednesday. It's going to be a hell of a series. Game 1 and 2 are on Wednesday and Friday. The whiteout is already going to be back in full force, and when you look at this regular series matchup, the Jets, I would say, dominated the Stars every big game that they needed to against them this year, and I think this matchup is going to be very, very, very tight and very heavy. I think we've already seen what these two teams can bring. Both these clubs are coming off of Game 7 performances that were crazy series in general. So these guys the Jets are tired. The Stars are tired, and with Scheifele being injured, and we don't know if he's going to be back. As of the time of recording right now, I don't know if Scheifele's going to be game time. And Morrissey as well. We don't know what's up with Morrissey. And then the same thing going with Jason Robertson. Is Jason Robertson going to be back? Is Miro Heiskanen going to play? There's a lot of questions right now with the Stars going to the second round series because both these teams are so banged up, but I think it's going to be one hell of a show. If the first round showed anything, it's to expect the unexpected. I thought that the Jets and the Blues would play it tight, but I honestly thought the Jets would probably win it in 5, maybe 6. I did not see that series going 7. Obviously, the implosion games did not help the Jets' favor at all, but nonetheless, though, I did not see it going 7. The Stars and Colorado, I did see going 7 on the other hand, though, and I expected those teams to battle it out to the very end, and that's exactly what they did. And now the Jets find themselves playing a very big Central Division opponent and rival for them all season long. Like the Jets and Stars, some of the biggest games the Jets had all season long in the regular season came against the Stars. The Stars were fighting the Jets up until the very end for first in the West, first in the Central, and really making a run for that spot. And the Jets really had to fight hard for it down the line, and they had to play Dallas with only a couple games left. And Dallas was on a hot streak, and things were looking tight. And the Jets, were playing a little, soft. And the Jets still came out of all those games and played their best hockey. So if the Jets lineups are healthy, and Mark Scheifele is back, which I think there is a good chance he will be. Obviously, we don't know anything yet, but I think that there is a chance that Mark Scheifele does play Game 1. So if Mark Scheifele is healthy, we'll see Kyle Connor up there with Mark Scheifele and Gabriel Velarde, Nikolai Ehlers with Nemestikov and Perfetti. I don't see them breaking up that top 6 anytime soon. I expect to see the third line being reunited with Niederreiter, Adam Lowry, and Appleton, and I expect to see Tanev down there with Morgan Barron and Alex Iafallo. I think Anderson Dolan, he's proved himself to be a very, good, solid forward for the Jets when they need him. Same with Gustafsson as well, and Kapari, obviously, he hasn't really touched the ice yet, but with Anderson Dolan, Gustafsson as well, they have those guys that are depth forwards that have played well and gotten goals, in the first round already. So, they've definitely showed up when they've needed to be called upon, and I think that that's definitely what we can see going into this second round as well, if they need to use those guys. As depth players, they've already shown their worth in certain games of the first round, so I think the Jets have a solid lineup. But again, when healthy, that's the big thing. If Mark Scheifele comes out of this lineup, and that's a huge loss. And again, we know that Nemestikov can step up. We've seen it as of late. But look at that center depth. I am not confident with Dominic Toninato, starting off a series. Him coming in at the end because of the injury, it was what it was. He was serviceable, but obviously having him in the playoffs as your fourth line center taking up ice time is not ideal. And again, I know Jets fans like Dominic Toninato. I'm a fan of him myself. I know he's the captain of the Moose. That being said, with Scheifele in the lineup, I think that this team is just so much better, and it definitely is worrisome going into a fresh series without their top center. It's going to be tough, and if this is the lineup that they go roll with the Game 1, I fully expect to see the Stars come out extremely hungry, and especially if Jason Robertson is healthy. All signs right now point to Jason Robertson being back in the second round. It hasn't been said when, but he, I expect him to be back. I would, if anything, maybe he'll play Game 3 and 4 back in Dallas. Maybe he doesn't travel with the team to Winnipeg. Maybe he does. But that being said, getting Robertson back will be huge for the Stars, so the Jets cannot afford to lose Scheifele, not right now, especially with a brand new 7-game series coming up. They need their number 1 center because, again, I just don't trust Dominic Toninato down the stretch in a 7-game series, play 4 or 5 games consistently. I don't like that. And then if Gustafsson comes in as well, he's good depth, but to have to rely on him so heavily to win faceoffs and be that guy in the center dot because you lose Scheifele, it's worrisome. And I think that the Stars are a hungry team. We saw what the Stars were able to do to Colorado, and a lot of people thought Colorado was going to win that series. It looked like Dallas was written off, but look at even Game 7, the way Mikko Rantanen, the ghost of Mikko Rantanen haunting the Colorado Avalanche, and the way that whole thing went down. Dallas is a hungry, good team. We saw that in the regular season. Now, I know that the Jets had their numbers when it mattered most, but the regular season is a different beast entirely, and if Connor Hellebuck doesn't shore up his game, that's going to be a big problem. This is the big thing all season long. All of us Jets fans were always, chanting U.S. backup to Ottinger at pretty much every home Jets Stars matchup this season, and even last year, if I'm not mistaken. And for good reason, because the Jets played fantastic and Hellebuck played fantastic in all those matchups. So we're going to need Connor Hellebuck big time to step up and answer the bell and be better than what he was in that final stretch in Series 1 for the Jets against St. Louis. Again, Hellebuck made the saves when it mattered in Game 7, but even then, look at the couple of first 2 goals, right? They were terrible. We cannot chalk up the fact that Hellebuck has not been himself in the playoffs again, even though he's won the games when it's mattered. You're going to have Hellebuck be strong. And again, look at this defense. I put an asterisk next to Josh Morrissey because we don't know with Morrissey. If Morrissey's not healthy, then obviously Logan Stanley's going to come back into that lineup. But if things go this way for Game 1 with Morrissey in, I think Hayden Fleury after Game 7 110% earned his spot. I think that Logan Stanley is just not going to work. Maybe if you need him for an energy or as a depth guy, but I think that Hayden Fleury's Game 7 was as perfect as you can get. Obviously, the Dallas' offensive core is as solid as you can get as well. Very strong core, and if Miro Heiskanen is healthy as well, that is just another knife, very, very sharp weapon for Dallas to have back there. And again, we need Morrissey healthy because I don't want Logan Stanley, and Hayden Fleury earned that spot in Game 7. He was fantastic, and he made Shen a lot better too, in my opinion. And I think that, Stanley has just been so inconsistent at times. And I think that when you look at, what the Game 7 was and what that Jets team did in Game 7, I just don't think you break up that group. I think that obviously Scheifele being out was a big thing, and obviously you're going to take Donovan Tornado up, so that part of the group's going to get broken up when he's healthy. But I think that for the most part, you keep the lines the way they are. I think that this was the best version of the Jets in the first round when they needed to most. They did not quit whatsoever, and they won the game when it mattered, and they made every important play when it mattered most, did not quit, and got the W. They outworked St. Louis with only a second left on the clock. So I don't think you break up this team. I think that you keep the lines the same even when Scheifele comes back. I think the defense as well, very importantly on the defense, is you start Fleury and you don't start Stanley. I know Stanley had some moments in that first round, but I think, like I said, Fleury earned that spot, and I don't think anyone can disagree with that. I think that keeping Fleury in will be a big test as well of the coaching staff. I want to see Arneal reward what Hayden Fleury did in that Game 7, whereas, Logan Stanley really shit the bed at times for the Jets, and that Shen pairing with Stanley was, disastrous at times. So I think reward the right player and, go forward with the right guy, and I think that that's exactly what the Hayden Fleury is for that third pairing. He's been, he surprised me all season long, and I think that Game 7 he earned that spot. And Logan Stanley, I don't want him touching the ice anymore going into the second round. Like I said, I know he had his moments. He hasn't been, as bad as he's been in the regular season, I would say, but nonetheless, I want to see Fleury earn that spot. And honestly, looking on the Dallas side of things, like I said, Dallas is going to be a hungry team. They're going to, if they get Robertson back, that's going to be just another super deadly weapon to a team loaded with talent. And they definitely have the star power in areas where the Jets don't. And I think that this is going to be a series where, the Jets' depth really has to shine. All season long, we've praised the Winnipeg Jets' depth because of how good that they've been. And I think that at the end of the day, when you look at what the Stars are going to do and the Stars' talent that they have, they're going to work hard, and the Jets' depth just simply has to outwork them. I want to see Brendan Tanev get on the score sheet this series. That's going to be a big boost if we can get that fourth line going a bit more. Same with Alex Iafallo and Morgan Barron. That fourth line, I want to see them not only throwing the body like they've been doing the last few games, I want to see them driving to the net more, trying to create more scoring chances. I think if that fourth line can get a bit of offense out of it, that's going to be a huge boost for this team going into a 7-game series against Dallas, where they're going to have star power. They're going to be making fancy plays. They're going to be, really skating well from the neutral zone and passing the puck well, where the Jets, at times have been a dump and chase team in the playoffs in the first round. So I want to see that that third and fourth line. I want to see them active. I want to see them in the paint more. I want to see a lot more goals in front of the net. I want the Jets to crash Ottinger. I think that is, a strategy that, like I said, the Jets' depth is just going to have to outwork the star power of the Stars, and I think that they can totally do it. This Jets team all season long has been a testament to their depth. That's what all coaching staff, management, everyone that works for the Winnipeg Jets has just talked about how every single player is bought in, and at a level that they haven't seen before at any real level of professional sports that they've played at in their careers. So when you hear stuff like that, you see the results that you got in that Game 7, regardless of the errors that were made getting up to that Game 7 in the first place, with St. Louis winning Game 3 and 4, in dramatic fashion like that in St. Louis. I think that this team is ready. I think this team showed their poise. They earned that freaking game, that Series 1 win. They earned that Game 7 victory with every bone in every one of their bodies. and I know that they're ready for this matchup. They've shed that label now. They've gotten past the first round. I know that they can get past the second. I know that they can. I know that the Stars are going to be a tough matchup, but I think that the Stars, honestly, and again, I'm just happy it's not the Avalanche. I didn't want the Avalanche. I'd much rather have it be the Stars, not because I think they're a weaker team, but I like that matchup more. And I think that the Jets and Stars, they play each other really hard. You know, this is going to be one hell of a series. I'm going to say it goes 6 games in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. I think the Dallas is going to get a run for their money, but I think the big thing, obviously, is going to come down to this series is Connor Hellebuyck. Can he rebound? Can Connor Hellebuyck outshine Jake Ottinger? You know, is Connor Hellebuyck going to be getting you his backup chance in Dallas are we going to see that? Like, that's what I'm worried about going into this series. That's my big wild card for Dallas, is if they can expose Hellebuyck like St. Louis did and, you know, Vegas did and Colorado did, then we're going to have a problem. But if the Hellebuyck shines and gets back to form and finds his game and gets back to that, you know, Hart-nominated goaltender, Vezina-nominated goaltender, Vezina-winning goaltender that he is, I think that the series, again, I think that the Jets will have the upper hand. I think that all comes down to how consistent Hellebuyck can be. I believe in the team. I think that they showed that in Game 7 what they can do and the no-quit nature in this club. I think it all comes down to Hellebuyck-Ottinger. That goaltending matchup is going to be the game changer in this series, and I hope to God as a Jets fan that Hellebuyck is locked in and ready to go, because like I said, I am all in on this. How could we not? This is just an incredible time to be a Jets fan. It's our year. We're going for it. We showed in Game 7. We showed the world what the Jets could do in Game 7. They left it all on the ice, and they earned that victory with every bone in their body, and now it's time for Dallas. It's going to be one heck of a second-round matchup. The whiteout is going to be booming. You know it. So this is your first time checking out a video here on Peg City Hockey. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all things Winnipeg Jets hockey. I will be at Game 1 in the whiteout. We're still figuring out Game 2, but there's going to be lots of content to come. The whiteout is here. Round 2 is here. I'm all in. Jets in 6. Let's go. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, peace, love, and positivity. As always, ladies and gentlemen, go Jets go. I will see you all in the next one, and bye-bye.